What's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're bringing it back to the world of Nicholas Sparks with his 11th and final film adaptation. It's The Choice. Now, if you weren't already aware, Nicholas Sparks kind of gave up on his adaptations because they were just kind of being received worse and worse, and The Choice got some of Nicholas Sparks' biggest criticisms. Its score on Rotten Tomatoes alone is a mere 11%. Needless to say, I was pretty worried about this one. Let's get through this review like a yeah hair, and let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, yeah. Quick and agile, aka lively. The Choice introduces us to veterinarian Travis Parker, a charming southern gentleman that has all the girls swooning around him. All, of course, but his neighbor Gabby Holland, a medical student in training. When her dog gets pregnant, she has no other choice than to go to Travis for his help, and that is when sparks fly. Oh man, what can I say about The Choice? I can say that I had a good time with it. I'm not even kidding. There was something about this movie that just kind of came off completely refreshing to me after the other Nicholas Sparks movies. Is it predictable? Definitely. Do you see everything coming from a mile away? Of course you do. And I think that's the problem. You watch all these Nicholas Sparks movies and they all feel identical in one way or another, so by default, people weren't gonna want to watch this movie, so they didn't. It had horrible box office numbers, and the critics who were already exhausted watching his other movies just had no time for The Choice. And I get it all. But if you watch them all basically back to back, there are a few silver linings to be found in this one. And I don't want those things to be ignored. First, the casting. Up to this point, I kept getting the overall feeling that the casting director for all these movies was just more interested in casting actors with notoriety and sex appeal than actors who fit the roles more appropriately. I actually think this one is actually one of the better cast Nicholas Sparks films because, for me, they're mostly unknown actors and they both do a pretty good job in these roles. They sometimes overact in their roles, I mean they always do, but they both stood out as sarcastic and funny in a good way. This is easily one of the funniest movies in his entire filmography, and it's not without its sappy side as well, and unlike his mixture of two genres in the past, I actually think it worked this time around. I was kind of unsure about the leads here because they really don't look anything like the other movies. The main guy is really tall and gangly with a really deep southern drawl, while the girl has that no makeup look. At first glance, compared to the other films, you might think they ran out of budget for casting, but if that was the case, then they miraculously fell into some really good choices here because I actually liked the two leads for the first time in what seems like forever. They're good, and they have believable chemistry. The closest Nicholas Sparks film that comes to mind when thinking about The Choice is A Walk to Remember, because unlike a majority of his movies, this one contains the two leads that don't exactly like each other at first. Nicholas Sparks often contains stories with love at first sight, but I think his strongest stories are actually more of the opposites attract variety, which is what this film is. Now, I might be praising it more than I should because it's obviously nothing perfect. It is predictable, it is cliche, it does follow nearly every Nicholas Sparks trope in the book. But like Safe Haven, I actually feel like it approaches those tropes a little bit differently than what you would come to expect, which again is what I consider to be a bit refreshing when going into all these movies. To be short and concise, the film was a lot better than what I was expecting. Let's go ahead and jump to the end score for a second. From an unbiased perspective, I think the film was pretty much business as usual. I appreciated that it strived a little bit more for humor than what you would come to expect, and I personally really liked the casting here, something that really surprised me. But it still has its problems with unoriginality. It's predictable and cliche, and that's really unfortunate because it is the last Nicholas Sparks adaptation. That unbiased score is 66%. As for my personal bias, I have that a little bit lower at 62% because as much as I had an okay time with it, I still gotta admit that it's nothing that I care to see again, own, talk about, or recommend, and I don't really feel like I'm gonna miss anything if I look away because it's just so formulaic at this point. When we average the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 64%. 64 out of 100 possible stars, or a D letter grade. The only other Nicholas Sparks film to receive the D letter grade was Safe Haven, so it's not in bad company. I enjoy both for similar reasons, but they both have their own issues that can't be ignored either. Alright guys, tell me your thoughts about it in the comments section down below. What did you think about the last movie from Nicholas Sparks? Is it better than what most critics say about it, or is it actually trash in your opinion? Let me know. As for YouTube guys, hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this review because there's always more like it coming out each and every single day. Hit the subscribe button and bell to be notified when I come out with my Nicholas Sparks ranking video. And until then guys, peace out.
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need a movie pick. up with us. We